Hey guys, this is another one of my how I do it videos. What I'm doing here is actually two different things we're doing. I wanted to make early model 69 through 72 side covers to fit a later model 500, which is mine is a 75 because they have a little more swoopy look to them, and the way I have my bike set up I think will look better. So I needed to make fiberglass copies to mount on my bike, and so these basically all these sections, this video just goes through how to make fiberglass copies. Originally it started out, I got a friend loaned me a side cover, and so I could I had the tank, but I didn't have the left side cover, so he loaned me a side cover that was kind of beat up. So I told him I'd prep it out and it'll be ready to rock when he gets it back. So I kind of went through how to paint and prep and lay Bondo, and how to finish the Bondo and primer and all that kind of fun stuff. So kind of gives you a little body work lesson on how to work Bondo, and then how to make a fiberglass part and what it actually takes to do all that fun stuff. There's a million videos out on how to do this. There's really professionals that do this, and so they might go, oh my god, or whatever. I don't care. I'm self-taught and this works for me, and I come out with good parts. So basically that's it. So I hope you enjoy the video and maybe learn something from it, and that's about it. Thanks. It's kind of cool to see these in the raw. You can see all where they were spot welded. It's kind of neat. And down here you can see where some rust is, and obviously on the inside we'll get rid of all that. But I know if you can really tell, yeah, you can see it. You can see some of the dents, and there's a little crease. It looks like I'm going to have to tap some down. I'll show you how to do that. Maybe, or I'll just do it. You'll probably find there's a little bit of paint left. It's really soft. I use a dull scraper to just get most of that off. That'll sand right off when you're doing your pre-sand and stuff like that. So that's what a bare side cover looks like. That's let's see, 40-year-old or so. So it's actually in pretty good shape. So it'll be great for making a mold off of. So there's that section. Okay guys, back to refurbishing the size cover. I kind of skipped a step because I was in a rush, and so I wanted to get some of this done. So basically, last you saw, I'd stripped the paint, found the dents, tapped some down. They're weird because they're from the other side for some reason. Tapped them down, and last night I laid my coat of Bondo. A couple of things about Bondo. Guys were talking about shrinkage, and after a few years the quality is a lot higher now, so that's not a huge deal. The second part is how much hardener you mix in. If you mix a lot of hardener in and it's starting to get non-light pinkish, starting to get reddish, what's going to happen, it creates more heat and it shrinks more, and so later on that could cause problems. So just mix it for a light pink, and that's good because you really need to be patient about this stuff, because if you try to rush it and get everything done, it's just going to mess it up in the end. So so you don't have to mix it heavy. I'll usually put the hardener off to the side and scrape it in and start mixing up and looking for the color. So I did that last night, but not a big deal. So the second part is finishing, and so what I did is I put a complete layer, a medium thick layer on. With Bondo you usually end up taking most of it off, but that gives you your best fill. I don't know if you can tell in this light, but you can tell the metal is a darker gray with a primer, and you can see where the Bondo is. Right there, it's a real thin coat. You can see right here where I was sanding it down. I finally got down to metal. a lot of guys kind of mess up on this step because they try to sand the Bondo to a finish to where when they paint over it, it'll be supposedly look good, but I've never found anybody that could actually do it, because what happens, the Bondo will always sand faster than the metal, and you'll always get some kind of divot in there. So if you look at it through the shiny paint, it's going to just it's going to look like a divot. It's almost impossible to do it that way. What I do is I put a medium layer on, and then you kind of wait till it's not sticky. Then take your standard old Bondo rasp, and you just want to do a rough cut. You just want to get the high spots off. You don't want to get down to the metal. You want to leave it high, and it always helps, to feel it with your hand. Sometimes you can put a sock on your hand or a cloth glove, a thin cloth glove, and you can actually feel it. Your hands can feel amazing amounts of irregularities. So you can feel it. So you do your rough cut this way while it's still kind of soft, and then if it starts tearing or peeling or sticking, then it's too soon. But you do that, rough cut it in, and then next I'll take a sanding block, which it's over here. On surfaces like this, a sanding block is about the only really way to get smooth unless you're really, really good at this stuff. So I started with a sanding block with 36 grit wrapped on it, and then I'll start doing your shaping. Get your shape very, very close. You still want it high, so you get that very, very close. Hopefully not through to the metal. I didn't get through the metal when I was shaping it, but I got it very close. And then I switched to 220, and then that's when you start doing some of your finishing. If you really get into it, you might bend the metal. You don't want to do that. You want to do as long stroke as you can with a crisscross kind of deal, and I did it right till I could barely see the metal. Now, so my finish is at 220, and that's where I leave it. It's ready for primer, because what happens now is you shoot a nice couple of heavy coats of primer on it. I prefer the enamel base. A lot of guys use fancy stuff. I don't on this stuff. I can get just as good quality finish with but I just use a regular Rust-Oleum Automotive. I like an enamel primer. That seems to work a little bit better. It's a little more durable than the lacquer, and it sticks better. So a couple nice heavy coats on that. What is also great, these are cheap heat guns at the Harbor Freight, like 20 bucks. The temperature gun, they're a little bit more expensive, but you can still find them relatively cheap. These are just immensely useful when doing fiberglass or painting or whatever, because what I'll do is the Bondo, it takes a while to set, and that's why you might get some shrinkage, and the enamel based paint takes a while to dry, a few hours in the sun even. So what I'll do is I'll get the Bondo, it's still fresh. I'll shoot a couple of thick layers of primer, let it touch off. Then I use my heat gun to just very carefully go over it, and I just go over it, heat it equally, check it with a heat gun, with a temperature gun, and once it gets up to about 200 degrees, I quit. What that does is it sets the enamel. It also sets a Bondo, sets that up more. If you're going to have any kind of shrinkage, it's going to happen then. So once that's done, then you can just let it cool off. And I let it do that last night, and so now what we have is it's a 220 finish on the Bondo, and so next is going to be I'm only going to cut it down probably wet and dry with 320, because I like a nice rough finish for the paint to adhere to. Actually, this is going to be for a mold. I'm making a mold. I'm making some custom side covers, and so, but it's the same kind of process. You want to finish it really nice and smooth, no lumps and bumps. So I'm going to be doing that for the mold. A couple other things I just wanted to show you for fun. This is the oil tank. that I took this mold off of last night. As you can see, or probably hopefully, it's kind of weird because it has all this other stuff on it. So you've always got to remember when you're laying fiberglass, you cannot have any undercuts. So what I did basically, it's pretty simple, is you tape off this part. I taped this off, taped off the mount in the back, and then this green stuff, it's really cool stuff. I love it. It's I call it Pardol. It's for fiberglass. It's a separating agent, and it's just a thick liquid. This is from Aircraft Spruce. It's called Plastilise 512B. This is so cool. It's basically like spray on saran wrap or plastic wrap because it's tough, and you can lay fiberglass on something and it'll pop right off because this is just a nice coating. I put it on thicker than most guys do, and I don't even have to use wax this way, but this is super tough. And the really cool part about it, it's water soluble. Just warm water, this will just melt away and it'll be gone. So that's very cool. So if you want to mold a part and not do any damage to it, then this stuff is great, and you won't leave a wax residue or anything like that. So that's pretty awesome. And so I basically just took my cheapy spray gun, didn't even thin it. You just do a few coats. You have to do them thinner, they'll fish eye, so especially if there's wax beneath it. So I'll do a coat and just do it with a heat gun again. Just kind of let it dry. It's an alcohol base, and so just kind of let it dry, put on a few coats. Once you do that, you can put a nice thick coat on it, and so you don't have any problems there. And then all I did was I've got bags and bags of scraps to make the mold out of, so I just used a bunch of different scraps to do that. Basically, usually on molds, I just use 2 layers. That's strong enough, but it's still flexible. This stuff, because I had things to go around, so it wouldn't be stuck on there, I made at least triple layer on the sides to make it really stiff, because I'm going to have to fill all this in and rework it so it doesn't have these cutouts. So that's pretty cool. And also this tank had a little dent in it right about here, and the cool part, if you're molding a part and it has a small dent or something like that and you don't want to pull it out, you really don't have to, because what you do, it's going to, instead of a dent, it's going to be a rise, and so you just carefully sand it out and your dent's gone in your mold. So so basically I've got the first set of molding done. I still have to finish the edge, fill all this stuff in, but that's kind of fun to do, and there's a lot of layers on it, so this one's nice and tough. And again, like I said, you can even do this if you're very careful and get everything coated up just nice. You can do over a perfectly painted surface and not do any damage at all to it. So that's pretty fun stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead, and that's it for now, and I'm going to go ahead and sand that down, and then I'll take pictures after that, and that's it.